evening, November Foxtrot.
Evening,
Welcome. We are joined this week by Eddie from LoneStar Tactical / LoneStar Pro. Hi, Eddie. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
So, for those that don't know you, Eddie, and don't know LoneStar Tactical, which would be bonkers to me, but for those that don't, do you want to just give us, a quick kind of rundown as to who you are and what you do?
Okay, so LoneStar Tactical is effectively a face protection brand for Airsoft. That's pretty much what it is. Started actually as a different business, but then evolved into just being face protection in November of 2021.
Cool.
And that's it. And then we've just developed a few different ideas and colours, and that's where we are. Yeah, I don't think there's many people that probably don't know who we are. But anybody who works in an industry developing anything will know it's not, the bit you see is the final bit is the easy bit, is the selling. Yeah.
No, that's cool. So if you have a question for Eddie throughout the show tonight, we're obviously going to be chatting all things Face Pro and everything like that. Just put it in the queue, put it in the questions or the chat with a little queue at the beginning, and then we will throw those at Eddie, and then we will see what he comes up with. To start things off, let's run some news. I think we've got some news. Let's hope we've got some news.
I think we've got a little bit.
I pick my gun and I go, pew, 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 pew.
News. Sorry, Andy. My computer is lagging slightly tonight.
That's
It's
Everything's gone wrong today. My own
it's all gravy.
Which is why I look like
So, Andy, I know you've got some news about Knobber of the Week.
Yes, we have Super Knobber of the Week. Bear with me 2 seconds because it's still loading up.
Eddie, just so you know, because I don't know if you watch the show, Knobber of the Week is basically a knobhead that generally seems to run around with tactical gear on or something like that, or airsoft guns out in public.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Enough said. That's it.
Yeah.
So, Knobber of the Week goes to a gentleman in the... Where was it? What area was it? In the Tewkesbury area. On Saturday, drove past a lady and fired a BB gun out the window, hitting her in the face. So that gentleman and his driver win Knobber of the Week. And the police are still looking for him. So if you do have any information, obviously we as a community need to stand up against knobbers like this. So if you do have any information in the local area, they were driving a BMW estate along Mythe Bridge Road. So yeah, if you do have any information, please get in contact. But yeah, well done, gents. You've got
not with us. Don't tell us. Tell the police.
Yeah, don't tell us. We won't. We won't be able to do anything.
There's nothing that we can do.
But yeah.
How about you, Eddie? Have you got any news of the week that you want to share, or something that you've seen that's interesting?
What you mean coming out of my bubble? I mean, I pretty much live in this room at the moment. Not really. We've got. Can I bring up the charity event?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so for those who may be watching, there's a UK Airsoft Ladies charity event in a couple of weeks. I think it's the 6th and the 7th of next month. So have a look on their social media if you want to go. But that's pretty much my only news. I literally don't get involved in the news. Actually, there is something, because my friend will laugh about this. There's a guy, for those of you who went to NAF last year, I don't know if he's been there before, but there's a guy that dresses as Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're looking out for him because we want to ask if he's going this year. That's like a personal mission by me and a friend. So I've done a post on Instagram basically saying, is he coming back? So if he's watching, we want to know if you're coming again, because it was good fun. And we'll buy you some whiskey.
It was a pretty good Johnny Depp Jack Sparrow impression, to be fair.
Good, yeah.
It's just fun though, isn't it? I mean, that's the thing I like about it. It's just fun. That's what it's all about. It's just to have a bit of a laugh and fun. So yeah. So if anybody knows who he is, get in touch, because we want to know if he's coming.
A special Jack Sparrow face mask, maybe.
No more face masks. Every week I probably get about 10 emails saying, "Oh, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this?" It gets a bit, yeah. Yeah.
Well, we've already got questions coming in for you, so it should be quite an interesting evening to find out what people want to ask you. So hopefully it won't be all requests for different products and various things. So we'll wait and see.
I'm not going to do the one that's got an arsehole on it. It's somebody's absolutely that. And it's
the reverse Space Pro where it's just got a hole.
Yeah. So I had about 3 emails for that. So I was like, no.
But surely, were they 3 emails from the same person or different people? Because I think that's quite.
To be honest, I can't remember. It was about 3 months ago. So
because if it's 3 different people, there's definitely a market for that.
Yeah. Well,
there's definitely 3
it,
people.
And you have to have so much material printed. It's probably not. So yeah. I mean, somebody will buy it. I bet at NAF they'd sell out. You could just imagine.
Yeah.
But
a limited run.
Yeah. I've got some runs to the basketball.
You'd have to call it the limited runs, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Yeah. That is it. That is my new style.
There you go.
A limited runs mask. Yeah.
I think that's probably the end of the news then, unless you've got anything else, Andy?
No, that was about it, really.
No. There we go.
Pew, 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 pew.
End of news. So we're obviously chatting to Eddie. We're a very high class show. We're obviously chatting to Eddie tonight. So Eddie, the first question I'm going to ask you is, I'm going to address the elephant in the room, and I've already prefaced this with you before the show. So you obviously make face protection, that is effectively a steel mesh with a cloth coloring. There's other companies out there that make those. So Delta Mike, you've got NB Tactical and stuff like that. What sets your product apart from them?
Nothing.
There you go.
Okay. There's loads of differences. I mean, you could say but you're going back a bit in the sense of when there was different versions of Delta Mike or different versions of UK Face Pro, things like that. One of the things we wanted to do, which nobody appeared to do at that time, was to have it as like powder coated stainless steel. So that's something that we wanted to kind of have to set us apart. The style of the mask, they're all pretty much the same, really. I mean, Delta Mike's covers, there isn't a cutout, it covers. Still brilliant mask, really well padded. Delta Mike's masks are actually more padded than ours are. But that's because we had ours very padded and people said it was too padded. So we changed it slightly. But I mean, they're all pretty much the same, really, in one sense. They're just designed to cover your teeth. Some are designed, like we bought the Sierra one that covers your nose. That was kind of like nobody else did that at the time when we bought the Sierra mask out. But I mean, really, any that you buy, whether it be a Delta Mike mask or a UK Face Pro mask or a NB Tactical mask or whatever, or our mask, they're just designed to protect your face, and that's it. And there's so many on the market. Some have some different colors. Ours aren't any different really to anybody else's, if I'm truthfully honest. The price is a lot different. Like our standard mask is like $19.99, and our closest competitor, I think, is like £25 or £27. So the price is different because we have ours made in mass. So like 3,000 or 4,000 masks at a time we tend to have made. And generally speaking, they're in stock. That was a big thing that set us apart at the very start. Was we were having so many masks made that where other people were making theirs to orders, whether that be Cygnus in Germany or Delta Mike or UK Face Pro, they were all making theirs to order. Ours were kind of just mass produced, still made by hand, but obviously not in my own living room. So that was another thing that kind of set us apart at the start. So we could supply them in much larger quantities, which we do to trade. But other than that, really, they're just all to protect your face. So that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Be very good with any of them. It doesn't make any difference, really. So, you go with like Delta might have one that we haven't got. Brilliant. Just go for it. If that's what you want, go for it.
You need a bit of competition, though, don't you?
Do, yeah. And innovation. Innovate them. Everybody. The market's so big. There's enough in it for everybody, and it's kind of we might bring something new out, and then somebody might have to update their masks. And so that's innovating all the time. So the customer ultimately is getting the best thing that they can get at that time. So it's a good thing, really. So
I always think having a bit of competition. It's like some of these companies where they're like, "Oh, we're the only ones that make it," and you think, "Well, that's it. You haven't got anything pushing you to improve your products or anything at all."
Yeah, I don't like market monopoly, because also then you end up with people charging ridiculous amounts for it. So whereas something might cost £3 to produce, they're then charging £150, because no one else is doing it. As soon as they get the idea, they can patent it and make sure nobody else copies it. Well, at least in the UK, Europe, and the US, China just copies everything, as we know.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they don't.
So yeah, I mean, innovation is a big thing, but also market monopoly. It's nice to have something that other people can't make, because you think, well, but ultimately, as the customer, it'd be nice to have the competition.
Yeah. So what's the difference between, because you've obviously got LoneStar Tactical and LoneStar Pro. So what does that mean?
Okay, so LoneStar Tactical, obviously, it's just mainly face protection, occasionally some hats or t-shirts or whatever, but it's just face protection, really. LoneStar Pro was kind of thought up about by me probably about 2 years ago. And because my partner lives in Germany, and so I started getting to know some people there, and we just had talks about things. Most of them are like either police or military or whatever, or Polizei. And so we kind of were just batting ideas about, what can I do? Could I do something new that nobody else has done before? And the idea, like pro meaning protection, and also professional. So the idea is then we were going to produce something that's just primarily for the professional market. Because, all the Gucci airsofters love stuff, don't they? Expensive stuff. So what we've done, we've got the website is live, but it's kind of only got a few things on there. We're still waiting for a lot of things to turn up, as well as just to give people an idea. When we come up with an idea for a product, whether that be a bag or a jacket or a shirt or gloves or whatever, we kind of we ask like a group of people. Some of them are serving military, some of them are serving police, some of them, various people. They're all professional people. Okay, I ask airsofters as well, but generally speaking, it's just
professional airsofters.
Yeah, like to spend money. That's what I ask.
Yeah, the way.
So we kind of got come and we kind of bash it down to just having a few. Let's take a pair of gloves. And so we'll kind of say, well, what do you like about this pair? What do you like about this pair? What don't you like? So you try and put all the best bits from multiple pairs of gloves into one pair of gloves. So then we have to obviously find a manufacturer for those. Rather than the masks, we don't use the guy or the company. I call him a guy because I only deal with one person who's like effectively my manager. I say my manager, he's a manager for me, kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
He's not my boss. So we then have to source a different manufacturer. So in this case, for gloves, we found a manufacturer. We then sent them ideas and designs. They then sent us different, kind of computerized images back. We then said, oh, okay, so we'll have a pair of these. of course they don't want to make a pair, because they just see it as they're giving you a pair of gloves. They don't see it as, oh, well, you're going to order a lot. So you have to buy them, which is always more money, which is crazy. But then when you get them, you get like 3 or 4 pairs, for example. And then from there, we then send them off to Europe. So then they're tested effectively. Then they come back and then they say, yeah, we really like this, or we really hate that. That's horrible. Take it off, or whatever, which we've had a few times with various things. And then once everybody's happy, then we have them. And that's it. Then we have to, obviously, in the case of gloves, you order 5,000 pairs, and so that's expensive.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But you could, the idea is that any product that is on the Pro website, LoneStar Pro, is a product that's been designed effectively and tested by professionals. So there we go. That's all we can say.
Yeah,
I have got some gloves which I could show you, but they're not finished.
Top secret. We want to release anything kind of too major.
So with your manufacturing process, do you outsource like, especially like the gloves and things like that?
Yeah.
But your masks, do you have is it UK based? Is it US based, or is it?
Pretty much all of our manufacturers are based in Pakistan.
Right.
Every single one of them, other than one, but most of our products are made in Pakistan. And that's because they are really like a manufacturing hub of the second. They're kind of second to China, really. There isn't pretty much anything they can't make. Whether they'll make it to the standard you want is a different thing. But they will make anything. So we own the manufacturer for our masks, so we don't have to worry about competition, somebody coming in and buying them. So that's just ours. But all the rest of them, which is also a bit scary, really, when you're going to them with you're spending months and a lot of money to come up with a design that they might then just sell it behind your back to somebody else. So there is that worry.
Wow, yeah.
But you'll get that with a lot of people, like Viper. All their stuff's made, in China, for example. They do exactly the same, and we know who that does because Combat UK buy it. And so there is that worry. But yeah, all of our manufacturers, other than one, with the other ones in Indonesia. But we're waiting for some stuff to come from them. So we're going to see how that pans out.
So do you have quite a long? So is it quite a long process from, say, when you come up with a new design or a new pattern for your masks or something? Do you find that it's longer because of the distance?
Anybody who gets anything manufactured would understand to a point. So let's say, for example, we're going to get. This is black, obviously. Yeah. So it took us about a year to get our MT, which we all know is multicam.
Yeah.
But I can't list it as multicam. It took us about a year to get that color. And because what happens is that everything starts off white. Even this was white.
Mm-hmm.
So you pick your material you want. Then it effectively goes through like a heat, pressurized thing where it effectively pressurizes the ink and color into the material.
Mm-hmm.
Then it goes from there, and they have to do both sides because it doesn't go all the way through. Then it goes through like a vat, which effectively like seals in the color. And you'd be surprised on when they show you the color to start with. You're like, well, that's it. I mean, I've had so many pictures. I'm like, that's it. Got it. That's it. That is it. That is it. That is the color. And then when it comes, it's like, man, no, it's not. It's like, So, and that happened multiple times with our multicam one. In fact, the very first sample multicam that we got looked like Ozcam. That's how off multicam.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The pattern was right, but the colors were completely wrong. So what I know somebody else who I'm not going to mention, but he's making some stuff he's having some stuff made in Pakistan as well, and he's going through exactly the same as I went through right at the start. And I'm like, just be prepared, just be prepared, because it once they get it, it will be perfect every time. But that initial getting it right is a real pain. And also, I don't know whether their phones aren't much better there or what, but they send you a picture of a product that they're finished. You're like, oh, you know, you get all excited. You're like, yeah, that's it. That's what I've been waiting for. That picture is perfect. And then when it turns up at your door, it's like 10 shades different. You're like, what is this? You know, like getting Ranger Green. You'd be amazed on how difficult getting Ranger Green is. It's nearly impossible, actually. Because there's so many other colors either side of Ranger Green that are so close.
Yeah.
In the shades. But you can't just give them, is it a round number? You can't just give them that because it just doesn't come out. It looks good on the computer. So they send you an email with it on and you're like, yeah, that looks great. Then it gets printed and whatever. And then the material changes the print somehow. It's like, I don't know whether it's because it's too hot or too cold or whether they need to change. So then you end up with like multicam where like a green, just an example, where the green is like 5 shades different. And so, but everything else is right, but the green's like fluorescent green, you know, for a bit extreme, but you get what I mean. And you're like, I don't get it. So then then they're having to try and individually change that one to make it darker before it gets printed. So yeah, it's a very long-winded process for colors, which is in reality terms, which is why we're not doing so much with colors now. One of your colleagues knows that, you know, when it comes down to desert DPM, you know, what looks amazing on a picture and it's like, oh, yeah, it's perfect. The pattern's perfect, but the colors, you know, I think he's got 3. I think I sent him 3 different ones and none of them are right. And it's like, oh. Yeah, so it's very difficult, actually.
You can tell Mark just to sod off. You can just say, shut up, Mark.
When I kind of take it on I take it on as a personal challenge eventually, you know, to a point where I'm like, right, I'm not going to, you know, we will get this right. You know, whether we'll sell many is a different thing, but, you know, it ends up kind of, in a way, taking over a substantial part of your day because you're like, right, I've just got to deal with this, and the lists become endless of, you know, people wanting special ones like Louis Vuitton or whatever. Those are relatively simple if you don't change the design. But yeah, so some are simple and some are very hard. I think we had 3 versions of Jungle Tiger Stripe before we ended up with the one that we got now, which against clothing and everything is pretty close, you know. But you also, sorry to jump in again, but you also have to remember is that not all airsofters will wear Cry. Some, you know, some airsofters wear, you know, whatever. So many different brands, and you can go onto AliExpress and buy multicam, and you can buy Cry, you know, and the difference in colors are completely different. So then you where you think, oh well, actually that's not right. You're trying to find a happy medium that will suit the very cheapest of multicams right up to the most expensive multicam, the one that generally works across all of those different brands of clothing. So it really does get complicated. Yeah. So
I just love the concept that you've got a multicam coming out with a luminous green in it. I think that'd be brilliant.
Well, there is the upshot to that. There is an upshot to where these colors are wrong, is when you then, because I keep them all, you know, I mean, I've got boxes and boxes full of masks that are just wrong. But occasionally, so, you know, you'll say, oh, yeah, I want, you know, oh, maybe like a new camo comes out, or, you know, something. You just want to do something different, or you want to try and spur new sales or whatever. And you think, oh, I'll do this. And then I go through my box first because I'm like, well, actually, that color that they used on that one there that was wrong, I just need to tell them that's the color I want, you know. So now effectively it does help where there's so many kind of failed samples color wise. You can then say, well, actually, I just want that one there, you know. And then they're like, oh, okay, yeah, well, we'll have to trawl back through the system to try and find where it was.
Yeah, you might have saved them, but we haven't.
Well, it happens with everything you have made, because in a foreign country is exactly the same. You know, it doesn't. We've had, or there's stuff been made other than masks, as you might see on the Pro website, whether that be sling bags or helmet bags or whatever. And you know, you get a picture, and in order to just get the product, you get to the point you just want the product, and you kind of make a bit of a rash decision because you've been working on it for 6 or 7 months. You did like, I just want the product now. So they send you pictures like, yeah, that looks great. Yeah, it turns out me like, yeah, it's not actually what I was expecting. It's good enough, but it's not perfect. So then you have to kind of revisit it. And obviously getting material, it's all different colors. So there's different variants based on like different kind of shades based on different kinds of material. Like, for example, a Ranger green in a 500 denier Cadora is actually a slightly different shade to 1,000 denier Cadora. It's not actually the same, but you look at it and you think, oh, it's the same, but it's not. It's actually one shade different. So it just drives you insane, actually. If I look tired, it's because I rarely sleep.
You're just looking at the amount of weaves and stuff and everything.
And then because obviously the mask business continues. So you have all the stuff that goes with that. That's like arranging, what you need for shows, arranging, make sure you've got enough stock for that, arranging like various different things you've got to do. And then you've got the separate one of the pro one. It's like, well, so now I've got to start promoting that, and although behind the scenes, a lot of sales have gone on, like if in the airsoft world, it is new. And in the professional world, it's new, but a lot of them already know it exists in the professional world. So you've got that going on. And then you've got this, at the moment, I think there's probably 12 products I'm working on at the moment. So some are in their kind of final stages in Germany. Some are in their very early stages of they're just being made as the very first samples. Some are kind of like halfway through that stage. It is really a real pain. It's a real pain. People just don't get it.
I guess that's quite a nice way of doing it, though. So you've kind of got new stuff coming out sequentially, because obviously if you did everything in one big batch, you'd have 17 months or so before then something new comes out.
Yeah, well, that's another thing in business. It's like there's things that I wanted to bring out which aren't ready. And I wanted that to be the launch of the LoneStar Pro, the mask, which we were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. So I wanted that to be the launch. But because that's taken so long, I think nearly 17 months, it's just so ongoing. It's like, well, I need something to launch the new website. And I'm sure your listeners aren't bothered, but I'm thousands of pounds in the hole trying to develop things. And so you just got to try and get things that people will be happy to buy. They'll love using. And so, but each one of those has then had to go through this same process. And so in the end, I just said, well, I really wanted this to launch the website, the new website, but I'm just going to have to launch with XYZ. Because I'm just going to have to, I've had the domain name for nearly a year and I hadn't done anything with it. I'm like, I've just got to do something now. Enough's enough. But staggering things is definitely, it's definitely the right way to do it. Because that way, then at least you're bringing things out every kind of like 3 or 4 weeks or, once a month or something, a new product comes out. But it's a lot more financially, it bleeds you financially dry compared to the masks. When you came up with a new style of masks, you might invest £500, £800 or whatever for a new color. But these things, the professional stuff, and constantly sending things backwards and forwards to Germany, and it's just absolutely drains your money. So I'm broke as well. Not really, but I mean, I feel it. I feel it.
And I suppose having obviously you in the UK, your partner over in Germany, your manufacturers in Indonesia and Pakistan and places like that, you having phone calls and stuff at all hours of the day and night as well.
I'd say normal is about 3 a.m. That's about normal. So that's when the messages start from like 3 or 4 different manufacturers. They're like, oh, could you check this? Can you make sure that's done? Or what have you decided on this packaging? Or have you decided, have you sent me the label design? Or have you, so it normally starts about 3 a.m. And then because my partner, she starts work early as well. So she's normally phoning about 5:30. So I normally, I mean, this is late for me. I'm normally catching my Zeds by now.
Yeah.
Not quite, but I can't go to sleep early either, even though I'm physically knackered and mentally done by the end of the day. I just can't get to sleep. It's just too much. It's like, well, what am I going to do about this? Or this I went to Germany for 4 weeks, which I told you about. Did I tell you about getting attacked by a dog? But anyway, that's a different story.
Yeah.
So I went for 4 weeks, and the idea was I went to see some people that were testing things, who were, I'd like to say really, really good friends now, and they put up with me anyway, at the very least. And so I went to go and see a load of different retailers, professional retailers selling. A lot of them were based at ranges, shooting ranges, and some of them were different police departments. Had some conversations with some buyers for the Department of Defense in Europe, various different things. So that was a really, really exciting time. I felt really excited. Take away the fact I was in hospital, but I mean, I was excited to be there. But then you come back from that and it's like, oh my God, now suddenly the work starts, because whereas before you had a few people knew what was going on because you were sending them things to try. But once the kind of for want of a better word, the big boys knew you were doing stuff, people that I'd never spoke to, never heard of, then start emailing. And they're like, when is this going to be finished? Were you talking about making this? Or can you do it in this? Can you do that? And it opened a complete new world. But it was, so now it's just tiring me out. Let's get the world's smallest violin out.
Right,
we're joined this evening by a number of people. We've got Pegasus, Marky Mark, Roscoe, Banzai Panzer, Pony Tony, Lanav Challenge, Daniel Brewer, Harry Badger, Chris Berry, South Hearts Airsoft, Fat Pigeon, Gian Airsoft 2020, John Donardio. There's loads of people on tonight. There's a lot of names that I've not seen before. So hi Daz as well, Jigglypuff Gus, Stuart. So we got some questions rolling in already. Jigglypuff Gus says, products mostly show with glasses. How well does it fit with goggles?
It really, right. That's a tough question, actually. And this is exactly what I'd say to people when we're at an event. You really need to try it on. And that's why the events are so useful, because we've got so many different ones that people can put on and try on. It's difficult because not everybody's face shape's the same. And sometimes the distance between where they're actually expelling the air to where the ridges of the goggles sit are closer than others. Some people have the mask up higher. Some people have it down lower. Some people have the eye pro comes down to here. Some people have it that it's just there. It really does depend. So with goggles, it's like with any. We can't guarantee that you won't get any fogging from any of the masks, because although I wear a normal one or I wear over the nose Sierra one, and I've never fogged. But then my friend who sponges masks off me like they're going out of fashion, he fogs even just like he can be fine, but then goes down into a bit of a dip and completely fogs. So it is one thing, that's why it's very difficult. It's a very difficult market, actually. But as for goggles, you really need to try it. But the downside to saying buy one and try it is then you have the issue of you can't have it back because it's been on somebody's face. You can't resell it because you wouldn't want to buy one that's been on somebody's face. So it becomes really tough. I mean, all I can say is if any of you want to try, you can obviously come to an event. We do various different events, and there's loads and loads of sample masks there for you to try. If you want to take one, which we do quite regularly, say to people, we'll take it and try it. If you take it into the gameplay and go and try it and see how you get on. We'll stand there and shape the masks for people, the Sierra masks, you know, and to try and get the best fits possible. Sometimes it just doesn't work with people, and that's just the same with any face pro. Some people fog up even just under the nose. So goggles is a difficult one. We always recommend block, obviously, because generally speaking, they don't fog. That's not to say they don't fog, because they do.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, that they don't. So yeah, it's tough. So I can't give a definitive answer really on that. If it's a Sierra mask that you were looking at buying, say that you actually covers your nose, they are really, really moldable to your face. And regardless of the amount of Instagram posts I see and they've got them like that, and they're completely straight, yeah, you can mold it that it actually fits completely right in. That's the whole point of it, is you mold it really so it fits really well. So all I can say is that generally speaking, most people get on fine with goggles, but you won't know until you try one. That's all I can say.
Fair enough.
No, that's good.
We've also got
that you're letting people try them and taking them out to the There's not many manufacturers that I know that would do that with any of their products.
Well,
it's a good way of making sure that your customers are happy. I guess.
Well, the thing is at the shows, you see, is that if you do occasionally have like a mask that's ripped, or a mask that's got glue in it, or there's something, and ones that we just change them, no question. If a customer's got a problem, we will, if they say it and it's always got glue here or something like that, we'll say, we'll send it back. We'll send you a new one. Most of the time, we don't actually even ask them to send it back. We just send them another one. But ones that we have had back are the ones that we put out on the table. So they're not really kind of like the best ones, but they're an example of, that you can mold it, you can take it. So even at when I saw you at Shift Your Riffs, there were three people I sent out in masks. I said, well, take it and try it. If it suits you, come back and buy one. If it doesn't, then just put it back on the table. And I obviously tell people those have been on people's faces. If you want to try it on, fine, but it's been on somebody's face. So yeah,
we've all worn military surplus. We've all had stuff on us
that's the best as a face protection retailer. I think that's the best that anybody could do. I don't think there are certain ones that are, you can't, they won't have them back, full stop. The sale is final, and that's that. But I mean, wherever possible, we try to accommodate, because we want people to be happy. We want the word to spread that, that they're a good product and whatever. And so we do ultimately want people to be happy with it. And that's why we're happy to, shouldn't say it, but we occasionally give them away. So there you go, have that, enjoy. It tends to be younger airsofters we do that for. When they haven't got the budget and they're looking at it and they really want it, but they can't buy it because they haven't got the money, or the mom hasn't come, or whatever. And that occasionally, if I'm in a good mood, it'd be like,
So just before you've hit the beer tent.
At NAF, I think on Saturday at NAF, I was drinking all day, so anybody could have come in on the Saturday, which is unlike me. I'm not a drinker.
James Venner said that they met you at Shift Your Riffs, and you're a proper top bloke. Took time to help him mold his new Face Pro ready for the weekend. So people appreciate that. Alex says, well, hey, it's Freddie.
Oh, God.
Yeah. See, everyone has that reaction with Alex, don't they? It's Alex. Oh, all right. Love you, Alex.
Mark as well says, I have the DM and LoneStar, but for comfort with the padding, LoneStar is better. And he also says, I apologise for being a pain in the arse. So there you go.
What can I say?
Yeah.
There's always one.
Chris has asked, I'll be honest with you, I'm not quite sure what he means. Chris has asked, what's this de jour face guard that you slip inside a bally?
That's as much as I'm going to say about that.
Oh.
There you go.
I can give you the overall view. As we spoke before, so it'll be under the Pro brand. We've been designing and testing for a long time a mask for simunitions, and it's really developed for simunitions. So in case people don't know what that is, it's effectively like firing a paintball out of a real gun, but it travels much slower, and it's for training. So that was actually the main reason for starting LoneStar Pro. So we have been developing that for a long time. That's all I'm going to say. And it's been through so many variants. It will be coming out. It's not primarily for airsoft. It is for simunitions. There'll be 2 versions. Some of them, there will be a fire-resistant version, which is just for military and law enforcement. There'll be a non-fire, which airsofters can buy. The insert that will be the main insert will be available for everybody, but then the law enforcement have 2 other inserts which aren't available to airsofters. So they are coming, but this is what I was saying. I needed to launch something because it's been going on so long. They will be coming. That's all I can say.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
The finished balaclavas down here.
Marky Mark says, Eddie, I was meant to message you and completely forgot. Any updates on the new Desert DPM Color Face Pro?
You said sorry for being a pain in the arse, and now
and then he puts that
out. No is the answer, Mark. For those of you who don't know, there's probably like most of you that don't know, that at the start of the year we had a real pain when it came to shipping, not from us to customers, but from our manufacturers to us. It was a real pain. There was stuff going missing, even going back a few weeks ago, because all of our parcels come via Dubai. So you remember the Dubai floodings?
Yeah.
So we lost about £7,000 worth of stock in that flood, which was still waiting to be replaced. So that was, So we basically, in the new year, we tried shipping as in ship, in a ship. So like container. We couldn't fill a container because we weren't buying that much, not like Viper does. But we so we tried that, and the time is just crazy. They estimated to us it was going to be like 2 weeks, and it took like 6.5 weeks in total. And then it was held down at the dock. Then we had to pay XYZ fees. Honestly, it was a complete pain. I'd never had that before, but I wanted to try it because with the pro stuff, a lot of it will be sent directly from the manufacturers to Europe. So it won't come to me first. That means I don't have to then, continue to have like 3 massive storage units full of stock. So as for Mark's DPM masks, that unfortunately the finished one, there was another three actually color wise, were in one of those that didn't arrive. So I am on it, but when he'll get it, I don't know. We'll probably be dead by then. So
you watch Mark.
He should be happy. He got masked out. Right. He got masked out of me for free. He can't moan. You know what I mean?
So with both your LoneStar Tactical and LoneStar Pro, we'll put the LoneStar Pro stuff to the side for the moment. Yeah. You obviously sell a lot of masks because I think when people think LoneStar Tactical, they think masks. You obviously do other products as well. So what I'd like to know is what your most sold mask is, and then what's your most sold other bit of kit as well.
Okay, well, the other bit of kit, we don't do anything other than masks for LoneStar Tactical. When I say we do other
excellent, that was well researched.
We do patches, or we do baseball caps now and again. We normally launch baseball caps just like under LoneStar Tactical, ready for NAF or something, because they're going to buy your t-shirts like these. We did these for once, but generally speaking, it's all Face Pro. What's the best-selling Face Pro? Well, I'm not going to tell you that. In case somebody else decides they're going to do that. But I can say that, there's always the set 5. It doesn't matter whether it's under the nose or over the nose, black, tan, green, multicam black. Those are the 5 best sellers without doubt. And when it comes to out of the Sierra or the mesh masks, which is the best, it's quite strange because it goes like in waves. So you can't predict what's going to be the bestseller like next month. you like this month it's mesh masks, but at the shows it's the Sierra Plus balaclava, because so it really does depend. So when you're at a show, for an example, like I can't explain things over the internet unless somebody sends me an email or a message on WhatsApp or whatever. I can't do anything. So they just have a brief look and they know what their friends use, so they go for what their friends got. That's generally how it works. But when you're at a show, people are confronted by this wall of masks and they're like, well, what's the difference between that one and that one? And then the questions start and you say, well, this one you can wear as a balaclava or as a snood. It does both. And they're, oh, I'll have one of them then. Because then suddenly they're like, oh, now I understand why it's like a few pound more. Because it's 2 masks in one, But on the website, you can't get that, So things are very, things are strange. And sometimes it's like you could go 2 months without, you're just selling the normal colors. And then on month number 3, suddenly you sell out of everything pink camo, every one of them sells. And you're like, but what is it? What and there's no reason.
There's an event somewhere that requires pink camouflage face protection.
So it is really hard to say what the bestseller is. I mean, I could say what the bestseller is last week, which is a mesh mask in multicam. That's why we're sold out. But then the week before, it was like I think it was the Sierra mask in M90 was the bestseller. The M90 is a really good seller anyway. But I mean, generally, it's difficult to say, and it changes week by week, which makes life actually very difficult to keep a track of. I need to keep this amount in, because last week I sold. If you sold on average, we sell around about 100 masks a week. That's about normal. Some weeks it's a lot more. And then that's without the trade orders. You can have like Skirm Shop put an order in for 80 masks, or this, whoever puts one in for 200 masks. That an average, just normal, what I would call domestic sales, is about 100 masks a week. And so you can say, well, multicam is sold out. So now I'm like, oh, I've got no multicam. So then I've already got some on order anyway, but then you like putting an order in again to replace ones that you've sold now. So then you're back up to a full stock. It gets really complicated, to be honest, and this will just bore people to death.
do you find that the camera?
Sorry, just quickly, Andy. I'm going to go back because I know you make helmet covers as well.
You are right.
I know. I was thinking of something.
Okay, so here's another quick story. So it won't be quick because it's coming from me. But so we decided. I had conversations with a load of people, and it was like I wanted to do helmet covers because I wanted one. So I thought I'm going to do some helmet covers. So I did helmet covers, and I also thought it was a really good idea because then you do them in the same colors and everything to match the mask. So it literally matches. It's the same color pattern and everything, rather than you buying one from a helmet cover from Amazon and then trying to match it with a mask. It might not be the same, but if you bought them together, it's going to be right. And then I thought, well, Team Wendy helmets, are relatively popular. They're not as popular as an optical, but they're relatively popular. And nobody seems to sell really in this country Team Wendy helmet covers at the time. That's what it was. So I was like, okay, well, I'll do some Team Wendy ones. Well, that went on for about 4 months. It took 4 months because I wanted to create a universal Team Wendy helmet cover. So it could fit on a LTP, I think it's called, and a ballistic, and one with a 2.0 rails or a 3.0 rails. So I wanted one that did every helmet, just one.
Right, yeah.
And so it took a while. And I was convinced that they were going to sell out. And, I've still got them. So that just shows that sometimes you get so het up about this is it. This is the thing that's going to be the best seller. And you still have them. Yeah. So the helmet covers will basically at the shows will be reduced to get rid of them. Yeah.
No, fair enough.
So they're not a very
I know a man that has a Team Wendy.
I know someone's got a Team Wendy helmet.
Yeah, me, I've got one. Yeah. So
what colours you got?
Sorry, Andy. Go on. You had a question. You had a question, Andy.
What colours have you got?
I haven't got multicam in the Team Wendy.
That's fine. I've got one of them. What other colours you got?
We've got the basic colours. We've got black, Ranger Green, Flat Dark Earth, and Multicam Black. Those are the 4 I got left.
I'll have one of each, please.
Yeah. Depends how much they're discounted.
We'll talk after.
Yeah.
So
no, generally, I can't even remember what I was going to ask.
It was something about a colour. You were going to say something about a colour.
Oh, yes, camos. Like, do you find that camos change throughout the year? So, like, obviously, multicam it is the standard probably throughout the year. You probably sell quite a lot of that because that is the go-to. But do you find, like, when it gets to autumn or things like that, you might start selling more of the M81 or Marpat sort of colours, and then winter, when everyone wants it to snow, you have people are asking for winter colours?
Personally, no, I don't see that. Multicam tends to be an all year round what people buy. No, I wouldn't say it's like seasonal. I wouldn't say there's like something where people would, not that I've noticed anyway. I mean, you tend to find people will, especially like snipers, where they do all their own crafting. You might see kind of some people will buy what we call the multicam hybrid. Okay, which was one of our original multicams before we got the multicam right. So, so it's like a bit of a darker, it's got darker colours in it. And I suppose you're right in a way where people do seem to pick up on that one and buy it more at certain times of the year. But I can't say there's something like M90s seasonal or, not really. I mean, to be honest, around Christmas, after Christmas, until about the second week, maybe of February, maybe even the third week of February, it's really quiet, and I think that's mainly because people are paying off credit cards. So I don't blame them because I am too, so, but it's really quiet. And then it's not really till the weather picks up a bit where things start picking up. But as for whether a mask is seasonal, you tend to sell more balaclavas in the cooler weather. That's definite, no question. And people will kind of have a normal one, a normal snood, and then when it gets to winter, they'll buy one in the balaclava, so they've got one for the cold weather and one for the warm weather. But I can't say there's a camo that sells better in the summer or winter or whatever.
Yeah, no.
Not as far as I've noticed. But then again, to be honest, I don't really pay that much attention. It's just like, well, that always sells. I mean, it's like for 100%, black always sells, and if there's ever any doubt, people buy black, it's, or, they'll buy green, that's the other one. If they might say, well, I wear multicam, but I also wear tropic, and I also wear tan, and I also wear, and then I wear something else, and they'll just buy one that fits with them all, generally. You will get the people that will say, well, I've got 5 loadouts and I want one for each loadout. But generally speaking, you'll get somebody that will come along and say, well, I want one that fits with everything that they're wearing.
Yeah. Like Mark.
It was funny that this was something actually about, I spoke to a few people about, was about longevity of products. So like how long the product lasts. And a guy came in at Shift Your Riffs. And so at that point where it's going to be over 2.5 years, he came in with a mask, which was one of the very first 100 that he bought, one of the very first 100 masks that I had.
Wow.
And he was still using it. He uses it every single weekend. He plays all year round, and he's still using it. And he bought one because I think he bought another one because he felt sorry for me. Because I said, I said, those masks are made they must be, they must be just too well made, And so, I'm getting to the point now where a lot of people in the UK have got them. So now other countries are taking over UK sales. Because it's kind of like, if a mask lasts, let's say an item that lasts for, a year or even 2 years that costs £20, you've done well for a £20 product to last 2 years.
Yeah, definitely.
And so but people are coming back now with ones that are like 2 years old, 2.5 years old to buy another one. I'm like, oh, I should have made them that the stitching kind of dissolved after a year. Obviously, they don't. Just
So
in
you can make I was going to say you can make one of those special, like the this is going to go off on a huge tangent, but like the pants, like the romantic pants, like you dissolve and stuff
it would
like that.
Be wouldn't it?
You can get like the romantic mask that like just like you can like the edible mask or something like that.
Yeah, edible mask. Yeah, I'll be down with that.
The edible mask.
Yeah, but in regards to obviously the longevity, like what sort of so there's quite a few of us that run or have your masks. I have the high vis yellow one for marshalling. Is there any tips or advice that you would give the listeners in regards to looking after it, how to care for it, and things like that?
Dip it in bleach after 2 years so it dissolves.
Yeah, yeah. Set fire to it.
Soda. You wash it in caustic soda, and then it's fine. If not, I'll give you 10% off a new one. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, not really. There's no real tips to looking after them. I mean, just you don't have to be gentle with it. It's not like a newborn. What you'll tend to find is that where people make a mistake is where they'll stick it in the wash at 60 degrees. And then it comes out, it's misshapen and the glue's melted. That tends to be what it is. And they have got instructions, it's a 30-degree wash. My advice would be to put it in a wash bag before you put it into the wash. Mm-hmm. It just helps keep the shape. Don't put it in on its own because it just then goes dunk, 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 everywhere in the wash. So you can machine wash it. But I mean, in an ideal world, you just hand rinse it really. They don't really. I can't speak for everybody, but personally, if I get a bit of dirt on mine, I'm not bothered. If it gets a bit muddy, I'm not bothered. It's when it gets sweaty that's when it needs to be washed. But and what I personally do is I just get some washing up liquid in a bowl of water, warm, not hot, but reasonably warm. Put it in there, rinse it around, and then leave it for 10 minutes to soak, and then hang it out on the washing line. And that tends to be what I do with mine. So no, I can't really say about longevity. The only issues that you'll have is if you're machine washing it is if it's too hot, you'll melt the glue, because although it's stitched, it's originally put with glue and then it's stitched. And so you melt that glue, and also then the glue that's kind of on the closest part to your mouth. And that melts, and then it kind of deforms. It doesn't kind of fall apart, but you wouldn't wear it after. It's just deformed too much. Right. Yeah. If it's in a high-speed washing machine, you'll bend the metal. Not to the point it'll snap, but it just deforms it so much. You'll spend so long trying to get it back into shape. There's no point. So not really. I can't really kind of give any tips other than really just do what I do: hand wash it in reasonably hot water, and put it out on the line. That's it. I've been using mine, funnily enough, longer than that guy has, because mine was one of the very first ones that was a production prototype. So that's one of my ones. It hasn't even got labels in it. It's so old.
Wow.
Proper OG.
Yeah.
Pegasus asks, looking at your sling bag, so this is the LoneStar Pro. Is the pouch for a plate a specific shape, e.g. a sappy or simmer cut, or is it a one size fits all?
It's a one size fits all, but I mean, ideally you'd go for a completely rectangular plate, but you can fit an e-sappy or a swimmer cut plate in it. It literally, the bag that it fits in will fit like a standard laptop, like I'm on now, or a big bladder bag. 5-litre bladder bag. I don't even know if they do them in this country. But yeah, it'll take any plate you want to put in it effectively. But the bigger the better. My advice is to go for a large plate. And if you're buying a plate to fit in it, then I'd go for the squared one. And they're definitely the better one. Funnily enough, it's what I got in mind. So yeah. But it will take a swimmer cut or a sappy cut or an e-sappy or whatever you want to put in it. It's thick enough that it's got enough depth in it that you can put an e-sappy in it, which has got everything on it already, which is basically a complete plate without having to put soft armor behind. So yeah, you should be fine. It'll take any effectively. You look at the dimensions on the website, it'll tell you the largest that you could go.
So go back to the masks.
Yeah.
Is there going to be a point, do you see, where there won't be any kind of progression that you can make? Because we've kind of boiled the masks down to a point. Ultimately, it protects your teeth. Yeah. Do you think that there will be a cutoff where we go, right, that's it, that's as good as I can get? Or do you think that there will always be an element of progression?
In one way, I'd like to say that there's a cut-off point personally already. Because it's kind of, you've done one that fits under the nose, you've done one that fits over the nose. I mean, other than making one that covers your cheeks and then your ears and everything else, which, would be a complete nightmare because,
it's full fencing mask at that point, isn't it? Like,
it's funny enough, and I did research this because, I'd say about a year and a half ago, I had loads of people asking, "Oh, I want one that also covers my ears," because they like the ones that when they have those mesh ones that have like a round.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, maybe. So I looked at that was my feeling at the time. Oh, could I do it? Yeah, I could potentially do it. But the distance between people's corner of their mouth to the center of the ear is all different. It's not even the same. So, so then how do you position this mesh that's going to go on somebody's ear? Because on somebody's it might be kind of like here. Somebody it might be like back here. Somebody's like here. And so it was just like, no, it'd just be too much of a nightmare. It would fit you, but not me, and so on. So in a way, the natural progression for my business was to then develop one that you could take in and out, which we know has already been done by NB Tactical. Mm-hmm. So then you're trying to come up with something that is different to theirs, completely different to theirs. So then I thought, well, look, the market is relatively good for airsoft face protection. As we mentioned right at the start, there's a lot of people making airsoft face protection and they're all really, really good. And so it's kind of like, well, what can I do now? How can I diversify my business now that we're still making face protection, but we're doing something different, So I actually went through that about 2 years ago. It was about maybe 6 months after I brought out the Sierra mask. I'm like, well, what am I going to do now? What's going to be? And that's when we started talking about the Simunitions one, because I don't know if you've seen it, but you've just mentioned like a fencing mask. Well, effectively, that's what a Simunitions mask is. It is literally a huge mask. It's massive. So it was kind of like, well, how can we kind of cut that down to make that minimal, but still has the same protection that they would need? So yeah, so I kind of, for me personally, I got to the point where I thought airsoft protection. There's already NB Tactical, which are very, very good masks. They're already doing an insertable one. I don't really want to do one like that because they've already got a very, very good product. How can I improve on the product they've already got? You can't really.
Pegasus suggests you could add an air tube like X-Fog to stop fogging.
No.
you can have a flap that opens to eat through as well, or something like that.
Yeah. I did. I spoke to a few people going back, about how we could kind of have a different version of the Sierra mask. Some were talking about having like a neoprene in there, and some were talking, various different things. Then there was one that were actually along the lines of what he was just suggesting, was on the mesh mask. We didn't talk about on the Sierra mask, but we did talk about on the mesh mask of basically having a thin tube with multiple holes in it that actually was a flat kind of tube, not round, but like a flat one that actually sat against inside there. And we just couldn't get it to kind of work. We never tried it with air, but we couldn't get it like, well, where does it fit? Where does it sit? It really needs to sit closer to your skin, because what was happening is when we kind of put this flat piece in, that wasn't a finished thing. It was just a idea. But when we put it in, and we actually blew it with straws, the air, because of the way that it sits on your face, the air was kind of going like that away from your face. It wasn't kind of coming in. So then you need to have it like in the foam, but then you can't put it in the foam because then it's a hard thing inside the foam. So we did kind of, honestly, we've thought of a million ideas of what can we, what can we come up with, which everybody gonna have to have, and that's every businessman's dream is like, well, how can I have a product that everybody wants to buy? And so we come up with some really weird ideas about, we could do this, do that. And there's a group of, there's only me that kind of majority runs the business, but there's about 6 or 7 people kind of that all chip in with ideas, and thankfully they're all unpaid. So it's like, but yeah, we kind of sound ideas off all the time about products. And so yeah, as for your question, it kind of really got to a point where I thought, well, I don't really know where I'm going to go now with a new mask. The natural progression was to have one that covered your nose, and so we did that one. So that's why the Pro one for the simunitions, I'm hoping when people see it, they're going to go, I've got to have it. So basically, it is a little bit like an MB Tactical one, but not. It's kind of it's our own thing, and the only clue I'll give is there is absolutely zero metal. There's no metal at all.
Ooh.
So that was our kind of development on it.
Yeah,
interesting.
Jigglypuff Gus suggests maybe a mask for a bearded gent.
You mean like with like a hanging ball sack?
Yeah, like a
pouch.
I've got to admit, I do look a little bit like Jabba the Hutt when I'm wearing mine, and the beard bulge comes out, and it looks like I've got like the biggest double chin going.
Well, it is actually quite, because it's quite common that people have big beards. I can't grow one, so it's no good for me. But we did kind
maybe
of
like a slot, a sewn slot, so you can pull your beard through and still have it.
The only one that we came up with was one that was longer. So it was more like it. So the mask was still virtually the same size, but there was in the front panel was effectively had like a skirt. so it kind of covered the beard more.
You'd look like the is it the ice the stormtroopers from Star Wars?
Oh yeah,
the ice ones where they've got like the hanging bit, don't they, on them?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because we've been developing another mask, which I'm not going to go into because it's for somebody else. It's not going to be sold by us. Mm-hmm. And that was one of their requirements, is they wanted like this bib. So yeah. So it's like, well,
I just think a slot underneath the chin, so you can pull your beard through, so your beard can still be shown in all its glory.
Yeah. So like a beard mask.
Yeah. So you have your mask section here, then a slot, and then you just pull your beard through. And
I have got another idea. I have got another idea which might work, and I'll tell you after because I don't want to tell everybody.
No, that's fine.
No, I seriously have got another idea which I did consider doing, but I kind of haven't really took it because I'm the kind of person, I'm either all in with one thing or all in with another. I'm never quite in the middle with fingers in this, doing this part of the business and fingers in that one. I'm kind of like, I kind of sway. So one week I'm absolutely engrossed in pro stuff and just sending out orders for masks, but nothing else. And then the next week I'm like, oh, the pro stuff can wait for a week. I'm now dealing with mask stuff. So it's kind of got lost in this thing. So I will tell you after, and you can tell me whether you think it's a good idea or not.
Stephen Whitehead says, so no Bane impressions then.
No. Well, actually, the pro mask is like that. The pro mask is like that.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah.
Landhav challenge, you joke, but during the Rona, I had some masks made oversized to accommodate my beard. It was fantastic.
There we go. So
Pegasus, what about a full face mask for the younger airsofter that doesn't look like a fencing mask?
Okay, that's a really tough one, actually. because they obviously require full face protection for insurance for most sites. Some sites will allow them to wear one of our Sierra masks, but most sites won't. They will literally say, and I've had many conversations, believe me, with site owners, this is protecting the vital parts, whatever. And they're like, no, has to have padding on the sides for the cheeks. Yeah. So the answer to that one is no. I'm just not going to go down that road. So you'd maybe get kind of like a third of sites will buy them to stock them. But yeah, the kids themselves, they're quite happy to wear nothing. But obviously for the insurance, they have to have it. And most of the insurance policies say it has to be classed as full face protection. And so when you actually delve into that full face, in my opinion, full face is now eye pro and a mask that covers your nose and your mouth. That is full face, really. But they're saying, well, no, it has to have padding on the cheeks so that it can't get indentations. So no, the answer's no.
Fair enough. We're obviously sort of coming towards the end of the show. We've got a little bit of time left. So if there are any more questions in the audience, then please feel free to throw them in the chat with a little cue just at the start. Just a reminder as well that we have the Tactical Doodles competition ending next week. So if you want to get your entry in for the random sketch related to the podcast, then you can obviously send that to Instagram at tactical, TACTICOOL_doodles, who will then pick the winner. Eddie, I have a question. Huh?
You better pick me. Okay, what's your question?
Why Lone Star? What's the kind of origin around the name?
I don't really know. I can give you like the updated version, but the original. Okay. So the original reason was I just had. Do you know when you just got a feeling about something? I always and this is going back at least 15 years, and I'm not lying. About 15 years ago, I would just randomly thought I'm gonna if I ever had a business, I'll call it Lone Star, and I don't know why I even had that thought at the time, but I honestly just thought I'd something about that name. So I don't know why I chose the word Lone Star, but I've got a lot to thank that for because my partner is originally from the US, from Texas, and so that was the only reason she accepted my friend request on Instagram. Was I didn't even to be, this is brutally honest, that I didn't even see her. I was so. I need to get my business known in Instagram, and I'm not a social media person. And I was like, right, what I do, just follow everybody that has any kind of tenuous link to anybody that's tactical. So it's like, that's what I was doing. Each night I got literally like that. I wasn't even looking at them. And she obviously followed me back. And then randomly one day, I just got a message saying, oh, you're back, Lone Star. And so that was it. So she is from the Lone Star state of Texas. So she's like, oh, well, what grabbed me was the name Lone Star. So I've got a lot to thank you for. There you
go.
Yeah. Fate.
You secretly knew.
Yeah. But that's the truth. Years and years ago, I don't know. I always liked the name Lone Star. I don't know why.
It's got a good ring to it.
Yeah.
It does have a good ring to it.
It's like I always thought, going back years ago, 15, 20 years ago, I always thought when I have a son, I'm going to name him Colt. And my last son is named Colt. So I follow through on my ideas.
Yeah. Cool.
So I don't know why Lone Star, but that's the...
No, that's fair. Well, Pegasus has actually asked a follow-up question. So what's the meaning behind the rune as the Lone Star Pro range logo?
Well, we can thank my partner. So the rune is the Viking symbol for protection. That's what it is. It actually, officially it is. If you look at various websites, they'll say it's something different. Some will say it's for fertility. Some will say it's for this. Some will say it's family. Somebody say, but generally across the board, it's for protection. So that symbol is the one for protection. And originally, before we then said, oh, well, it's like Lone Star, like professional, So it's LoneStar Pro is in protection, because the original product was always going to be just a munitions mask. And then it went down the road of it's now LoneStar Pro, so it kind of means both. So that rune is the symbol for protection, is the idea. Yeah. Plus, it looks cool.
That's cool.
Yeah? Looks cool.
It does look cool. It does look cool.
So many people have bought T-shirts and hats based on they love that logo. That's it. What more can I say? Yeah. But I can't take credit because my partner found it, not me.
Marky Mark asks, what brought you into Airsoft?
What brings everybody into Airsoft? Guns. That's exactly why everybody starts Airsoft. But I started Airsoft back in about 2005. Was it about 2005? No. Or was it earlier? I don't know. It's around about that time anyway. So a long, long time ago. When, everyone was running around in DPM. That was as much as you could get. There was no cry. It was all just British surplus, and that's assuming you could afford it, because most people were in tracksuits and tracksuit bottoms and trainers. So yeah, that was. But yeah, I got into it because I've always had potentially an unhealthy fascination with guns, like everybody in Airsoft has.
Don't we all?
Yeah. So yeah, that's it. I just thought, this is when I was kind of growing up. There wasn't these battery powered ones that there were when I started Airsoft. There were the Springers. There was everybody, you went to your gun shop and you got a plastic Springer and it looked realistic-ish, and so that was as good as it got. But then obviously Airsoft, really took off, hasn't it? There's nothing now that isn't copied. And the riffs are so realistic now, to the point where they're as real as they can ever be without it being real. But when I started, there was like Classic Army that was like pretty, Tokamiruri was around, but they were kind of like falling away a little bit. They kind of the up and coming brands, like there was WE were an up and coming brand then. That was the brand a load of people wanted. Western Arms was about as good as you were ever going to get in an M4 in a gas. So that's. But the market's so massive now, and even people that never wanted to have anything to do with Airsoft businesses are now like got Airsoft parts to them. And I'll be surprised if other people don't carry that forward, and start producing stuff. There's like different ranges of. It's a little bit like on Artrex, for example. They've got their Leaf range and then they've got their Everybody range. And so yeah, but it just pushes the market up. You go for an Artrex balaclava is like now if you can buy one because you're law enforcement, they're about 40 quid, but on eBay they're 150 quid. It's because you can't buy them anymore. Yeah, so. Yeah, it's interesting. Airsoft has evolved so much, so much.
Like the big thing from when I started was you would never have anything licensed. There was no licensed copies. Whereas now is a big thing where companies are getting licenses.
Well, they can make money. They've worked that one out.
Yeah, and they go, hang on a minute. Yeah, we can make a killing from this. So seeing licensed stuff, I think, is a massive change to the airsoft industry in itself anyway.
I think because most of it was made in Taiwan, I think at the start. I don't know, around that area. In fact, I've got an airsoft gun that was made in about 1983. It's really old. I've never used it because I just bought it as like, it's so old. But I think because they were made there, they just stuck a load of markings on them anyway. So for example, like you had Classic Army, they had pretty much most of the actual markings that the real things would have on them. They weren't licensed, but they didn't care because they were in China, or wherever they were made, Taiwan maybe, I don't know. But yeah, you're right. Even now you've got like licensed Cry JPC carriers. There's even, I think they mainly like 3-4 years ago they put that license out, but there's many people now using, that are putting their own branding on things that are exact replicas of Cry, Amazing. It is amazing the amount of stuff you can get. Thanks to AliExpress.
Yeah. And Temu's the new one, isn't it?
Oh, I can't download that. I can't. I've heard so many stories about it. I can't. Yeah. But AliExpress, I mean, they're all right. They're all right. You do get your stuff eventually. And but yeah, they're okay. But Temu, no, I've heard horror stories about that one. Well, it's somebody that I kind of knew for a friend of a friend that when they downloaded it, within like 3 hours, their phone was completely hacked and they had all the bank details and stuff. Everything was taken off the phone.
Wow.
Now, that might be some random coincidence, but it was literally 3 hours after they downloaded Temu. So, like, well, I'm not having it then.
Yeah.
My whole world is on my phone. I run my business 90% of it from my phone. So yeah, I can't afford to have anything like that on it.
No.
So with the LoneStar Pro, where do you kind of see yourself going with that? Is that going to be, you talk about sort of protection? Is it all going to be? I mean, for example, you're going to look in potentially plate carriers, helmets. What kind of your long-term scope do you foresee?
Without giving too much away, there's always this worry in business when there's certain things that they will be coming in the next few months that is like our own thing that's patented, that we've patented. And so it shouldn't be able to be copied, but that doesn't mean to say it won't be.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But yeah, so I kind of, what I'm trying to do is I'm looking at the things that I see people wearing a lot of. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for example, let's say a chest rig. Yeah. So you do a lot of research into, well, what I like. That takes big factor, to be honest with you, because, I'm quite anal when it comes to having to have things exactly right. And as people will know by my store, because I spend 7 hours putting it up. But I mean, it's but yeah. So let's take, for example, a chest rig. So then you do all your research, and you then ask the professionals about what they're using. And they'll give you different answers, because some people, like, these are the professionals, and they'll be using Helicon Tech chest rigs to training, and you're like, really, you're not running like this Spiritus rig or something else. So that all carries on that. But so there's no end really to the products that I like the idea of bringing out, but They won't be things like helmets. They won't be those.
Mm-hmm.
There's companies that do the best job at doing that, and there's enough room in the market for things like chest rigs, plate carriers, belt slings, whatever. But also on the other side of that, people tell me I'm a decent guy, and I don't like to kind of tread on other businesses' toes. That's not really as like we were talking about with masks, whether it be all the different mask people. I'm not here to upset anybody, and I hope they're not upset, and I don't want to be upset by them. We're just all trying to get along and make a life for ourselves, really. And so there are certain products that I will not bring out, because I have deep respect for the people who own certain companies, which I know. So, but really, no, the list is endless. But there's so many products. I've literally got a table over here, which I'm not going to show you, but I've got a table, and it's covered in some finished products and some not finished products, which will be going on in over the next kind of 3 or 4 months, maybe. There'll be one or two going on every month.
Be interested in a LoneStar sling. Just saying, that could be.
Well, I have looked at slings, but again, the market is flooded with slings. Excluding airsoft. Yeah, okay. So you've got some really good slings, airsoft related slings, anyway. But even without airsoft, the market's flooded. With very, very good quality slings. So you have to think of, well, what can I do to make it mine? What's going to distinguish my one? If I hung all these ones up on a rack, why are people going to choose mine? And so that's what you have to kind of come back to. And then when you can't think of something that's going to distinguish yours, then what's the point in making it? You know, you just add into the market. You can undercut people, but, you know, then people tend to think your product's inferior because it's cheaper, you know, so even though it might actually be much, much better.
Yeah, much better,
Yeah. But they'll see it like a sling for £30 and a sling for £20, and they'll think, oh, the £30 one's better. Well, why? Well, because it's more money. Well, yeah, but it's actually made in the same factory. It's made of the same materials, but it's just they're not making as much profit on it, you know, as the one that's making the £30 one. People see a big price tag and expect it to be a very good quality.
Yeah.
You know, which is another reason why the Pro brand is a different beast to the LoneStar masks. You know, a lot of things I learned from the first business that I've kind of put into the second business. The long-term goal of LoneStar Pro is to be supplying directly to retailers and directly to military and law enforcement. That is the ultimate goal. So I don't physically have to touch anything. That would be ideal. So that's the long-term goal, is to literally have things like there's a store in Germany that's going to be stocking most of the Pro stuff. One big store. There's others as well that are going to stock certain things, but so that's the route I'm going to try and go down with the Pro stuff, is that it'll be available to us all, because I'm going to be using some of it myself. You know, I even buy it myself from myself. Make sense of that. But there's ideally it's just going to be retailers that are going to be wholesaling or retailing it, which will just make it so much easier. If they order so many, you know, they just get sent there. That's it. Yeah.
No, fair. Yeah. Very quick last question from the audience. Stephen says, so being of the DPM era, what's your preferred camo?
Okay, so I've kind of like been through everything everybody else has as well, where you keep changing your gear, you change your loadouts, you change what you want, and you look in the mirror and you think, I look like a dick, or, you know, whatever. So I, like everybody, has changed various things. And I did used to be a DPM person. In fact, I've still got it all. Not that it would fit anymore, but I mean, I have got it. Then I went through like a multicam, but I never went into the full scale multicam. So I mean, I've got Cry stuff, I'll admit that. But I mean, but when it comes to the top, I've never owned a Cry top. You know, I just never felt comfortable wearing both. You know, some people wear the whole thing literally like they're in SEAL team, and then other people will wear just some bottoms. And I like to wear what I feel comfortable in, and that's really seasonally dependent on how fat I am. So if it's you know, winter season, I tend to be even fat. No, I don't. But what I tend to be, what my favourite things are at the moment is Ranger Green. Ranger Green. That's it. I mean, it's just a pair of jeans. When I go to Germany, it's a pair of jeans, and it's a Ranger Green Spiritus rig. That's it. And that is exactly what I use for airsoft. So it makes it feel comfortable. It doesn't get too hot. I just wear a thin t-shirt. I don't have to worry about being cammed up. Okay, you look like an absolute dick when you're in the forest, but obviously, but I don't actually tend to play so much anymore because I'm always retailing.
Yeah, always working.
Yeah.
But when I'm not retailing, the last thing I want to be doing is playing airsoft. So
you want to rest.
Owning an airsoft business has the negative side effect of that when you aren't working, you're fed up with hearing about airsoft. You know, not for this, of course, but what I'm saying, you know, generally, it's, you know, it's the last thing you want to do on a weekend when all you've dealt with all week is airsoft. On the weekend, you just want to sit in the living room, stick Netflix on, and eat loads of ginster pasties. You know, that's it. That's it. You know, simple life. with a bottle of cherry Coke. Job done. I'm not.
Well, obviously,
Coke, by the way.
Talking of sort of shows and things, so where can people find you? So we got your website, which is lonestarb2b.co.uk. So
LoneStar Tactical, but that's okay. You can use that one as well.
Oh, is it? Oh, sorry, LoneStar Tactical. I took that straight from
No, hang on, no.
the website.
Yeah, that's not your fault. Actually, what happens is that I got lonestartactical.co.uk, and then I was trying to create a separate inside website which was for business to business, hence why it's called B2B. And then
right, okay,
so that's
right. Hang on, I'll change it.
It'll still take you there. It'll take you there. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Take you there.
There you go. So if you want to find your stuff, you can go to lonestartactical.co.uk. But you've obviously mentioned that you're at lots of shows. We know you're a Shift Your Riffs because we obviously saw you. You've mentioned NAF, the National Airsoft Festival. What else have you got sort of coming up in the next few months that people can come and find you at?
So we've got the UCAL event, charity event, which I said that's at Wickham Airsoft. So we're going down there to, because we also sponsor UCAL. I think we were the first people to sponsor UCAL actually right at the start. There's about 5 of them, I think. So we're going to that one. Then we've got the No Man's Land Weekender. That's up in Barnsley. Yeah. And I love that place. That's one site that I really just going to deviate slightly just before we cut off and you should.
No, that's fine.
But, not playing airsoft so much anymore. You struggle to get that high. Yeah. So you go to any site and play, but there's, you don't get that high that you first got when you first went and played airsoft. And when I went to No Man's Land, there was a lad there called Connor. I think he works there as well. And I'd been there retailing for their weekender. And then I decided, actually, I want to go back and play there. Now, bear in mind, it's it's 200 miles away from me. I thought I'm going for the weekend and play. And the very first game I had, I took out every single other team player on my own. And I literally didn't play for the rest of the weekend because there was nothing was going to beat that high. I was like, that's it. I'm done.
I'm done.
And literally just packed everything up and I sat around for the rest of the weekend. So I only played for like three quarters of an hour. That was it. But I really love that site. I really do. And that's not a plug for them, but personally, it's one of the
you can plug away, mate. It's not a problem.
The way it was laid out and the way it was run, it was just, for me, it was kind of like a bit of an old school thing. I felt really comfortable there. So if you've never been, it's one to go and visit 100%. No Man's Land. It's definitely one. And I've got a lot of good friends there now as well. So it's, which I kind of lost because a lot of my airsoft like the lads that I started airsoft with, some have moved. There's some that have moved to Canada, some moved to the US because they wanted real guns, not airsoft guns, And so not many of the original group that I started with even play airsoft anymore. So yeah, it's nice to kind of get a new group of people to kind of get involved with. So yeah, definitely No Man's Land. And then the next one we'll be at is so No Man's Land is the end of July, and then you've got NAF, which is the end of August.
Yeah.
Have to go to NAF personally because it was an amazing event for me last year. So for retailing, I'm not getting into the ins and outs of that.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
But for me, retailing, it was brilliant. So I'm definitely going back. And then I think there'll be another Midlands Airsoft Fair, which is another great event for me, which is normally, I think, October, but I'm not sure. But that was the last event I did, was the Midlands Airsoft Fair, which some people probably saw us at. So, yeah. And then occasionally we might tick into some others. Sometimes somebody says, "Oh, can you just come and bring a few masks?" No, I'll have to bring my whole store.
You don't know what you're asking.
That's it. Well, the problem is with that, you see, is that people, you'll know, well, you might know because you were definitely at Shift Your Riffs, but it takes me on my own about 6 to 7 hours to set my stall up. That's just a normal mask stall. And it doesn't look that complicated. And it's really isn't really complicated. For some reason, it just takes hours to do it. And then, so when it came to the Midlands Fair, which is the last one I did a couple of weekends ago, I then also had a pro stall as well, selling some of the pro stuff there.
Oh God!
And so I got there at 2. I think I got there at 2:30. I got there, and then I think I started setting up, let's say 3 o'clock, and I finished setting up at about 11:15 at night. And so it's a massive thing to set these stalls up. And for anybody that just turns up and goes, "Oh, this is a nice stall," it's like it just I have no idea how long it's taken me. Please get the violins out for me. I beg you, please. No, but I love the event. I love meeting people. I am a people person, so they're really good. They're really good, but they are long events for me. Because when everybody's gone, I've then got another 4 to 5 hours putting it all away again.
Yeah.
And then normally, because there's never an event close to me, they're always like 3 hours away. So then you got a 3-4 hour drive home. Yeah, but I do like them. I like them. Meet some good people.
I mean, we can't really talk about our stand because we managed to put our stand down in about half an hour because it was absolutely tipping it down in rain. So we were just chucking stuff in the car. Like,
well, I noticed. Yeah. But at Shift Your Riffs, I think I started packing like. I won't go into all the business, but basically there's a problem, which means I have to stock take before I pack up.
Right,
well, that takes 2 hours, to stock take. Well, that's without anybody kind of coming and buying something at the same time. So I started packing stuff away about 11:30. Kind of stock taking and putting things that I knew were not like putting patches away and things like putting things away. And so I think I left about 6 o'clock. Was it about 6? You weren't 5. I think you were about the same as me. It was maybe 5, something about 5.
Yeah.
So packing up is definitely easier than setting up. But if it's wet, it's horrible. Because you've got to protect that stock at all costs.
And it was wet. It was wet.
But I just managed to get the gazebo into the van, like folded down and everything, and into the van just as it started raining. So I was lucky that I was obviously ahead of you. But then obviously for those of you I then also have my traveling home, my caravan, because I'm so old. And so I then took another 2 hours or whatever to then have a coffee and go to the loo and then crack it away. That's right. No, but when
we were sitting there, we were clinging on trying to prevent our gazebo flying away.
when the stalls, for me, when the stall's down, the pressure's off. I'm in no rush anymore. It's just getting it all down, and it literally just about fits into the van. Which you're going to have to look at a different van, I think. So you just about get it all in, and once that's done, the pressure's off. Then I'm like, right, okay, I can sit and have something to eat. A lot of these events, if I'm on my own, I don't stop. And NAF is a prime example of that. I opened the stall at 7 o'clock on the Friday morning for when people started arriving. And I shut the stall at 10:30. And then literally, other than twice when I had to go to the loo, we were sort of texting somebody, like, come and stand in the stall while I go to the loo. Other than that, I never left the stall. So, they're not easy things, but they're great fun. So come and say hi, everybody, when you next see me.
Yes.
Please keep me company.
Well, that's pretty much all we've got time for this week. Eddie, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a real pleasure. I know we've been trying to get you on for a while, and you've been putting me off. But I've got you here finally. So it's been wicked. It's been good to have a chat. If you want to get in touch with Eddie, obviously you can jump on the website www.lonestartactical.co.uk. There you go. You can also get in touch with the show as well. You can email us at nofochat@hotmail.com. Our Instagram is @November_Foxtrot_NoFo, and the website is novemberfoxtrot.co.uk. You can also contact us on our own individual Instagrams, which are @9voltairsoft, @callsign_quartermaster, and for Lance, who unfortunately couldn't be with us this week, at the _punished_1_. What are they? Ooh.
Secret gloves.
Yeah.
Oh, that look.
Eddie's just waving cool products in front of the camera now.
Oh, yeah,
oh, that's cool.
And the tiniest of all tiny symbols.
Eddie, we normally end the show with something we call the closing words, which is either a crock of bollocks or some words of wisdom. So you can have a pick of what you'd like. But I'm going to throw it to you for the closing words.
Well, if you didn't hear me before, when you said, "Oh, thanks for having us on," blah, 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 I said, "Yeah, please do not have nightmares. Do sleep well." And that's all I'm going to say.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
I missed that show.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right, join us next week. We will have Defiant on the show. We're going to be talking about the updated events that they've been running, what they've got coming up in the future, what they've got going on at the moment. There's all sorts of things, as well as a bit of a catch up on Raid and Longmore and all of that lovely stuff. So join us then, Wednesday, 8:00 next week.
That you show.
Yeah. You want to say goodbye, Andy?
Bye, Andy.
See you later. We'll see you all next week. Have a good one.